All right, what's up, guys? We are back here. We're going to try this again. We're having a little, some technical difficulties here, but if anyone shows back up, we'll hang out for a little bit and hopefully get the audio and picture quality and stuff corrected. And it'll be okay. So I'll hang here for a little bit if you guys want to still hang out and ask some questions. I only saw the first one or two that came in. So sorry, whoever posted on there. If you want to repost them, we'll hang out until we get through them all. So hopefully we can see me okay, and we can hear me okay. And the same deal. If you guys have any questions, fire them away, and we'll go back. Scott, can you hear me okay, dude? Technical difficulties up here in BGC, but I think audio video is good. Okay, all right, we're back. Crowd has gone down some, but we're back.
We're getting back. Come on.
Chipping from tight and firm lies, Scott. Okay, cool. So yeah, what I would say when you're chipping from tight and firm lies, Anton, is you have a couple different options in terms of what you want to do. And I think with it, you really want to make the decision, do I want to use the bounce or do I want to use the leading edge? And so basically, if I'm hitting off a tight lie here, I can have several different options. I would prefer to be able to use the bounce when I'm doing this. So for me, I would open face a little bit and start to use a little bit more of this bounce. But when you're in a tight lie, there's very little margin of error. So you have to be precise with your strike. So you can hit one, see if I can do this without hitting Mary's camera. You can hit one and open the face a little bit, but then you have to just learn how to get that back part of the club directly underneath the club. The other thing you can do on a tight lie is take the heel out of play, get the shaft a lot more vertical like this. So if I took my setup from down the line, let's say my chipping normally is about like this. This would be a normal chip shot. I would just go here, take the shaft up, get the heel literally off the ground. So it feels like the shaft's a lot more vertical, and have the ball a little bit more on the toe of the club and learn how to do a swing, which to me feels like a no hinge kind of long chip shot. So shaft is vertical, balls in the toe, face a little bit open, longer chip shot style, and learn how to clip it with that. The kind of baseline idea is you're taking the heel off the turf so that the heel can't dig when you hit. So you liken the bounce a little differently. So I would roll with that. Ryan, when's the best point of the swing to really start getting your weight onto your left foot? I find more success when I get my weight in my left foot before my left arm reaches first parallel. Correct. Well, yeah, Ryan, this is one of the ones that are difficult. We did some videos with Mike Malaska and transition things. It's, if you look on like a pressure board, you would see the pressure for a lot of players start to move forward before the arms and hands finish their backswing. And that's true, and that's all good. But if you start to go too forward and you don't make a full backswing turn, or you don't have enough depth, then that creates its own problem. Like you could go too early from my perspective, unless there's ways to do it that I don't know about. I see a lot of players never get the full backswing turn and get the backswing length. So I would rather you feel like you're getting full turn, full all the way back, and then you start going down. So like make your full backswing turn, get all the way to the top, and then start your downswing shift. Now, technically when I do that, if I have a pressure mat, is that going to start going earlier? Yeah, probably, right? But in terms of feels, I'd rather you get the full backswing turn. Let's see. Swing tempo. Yeah, so we just did a video on tempo. I think it was like 2 videos ago. Might have come out on like last week.
Sunday, a week ago.
Yeah, so if you search my name in tempo, you'll find that we did a whole video on that, very thorough. So I would go watch that one. Creating lag in the swing seems like a straightforward thing, but I can't seem to get it. Any pro tips on how to get more lag in forward leading shaft? Yeah, absolutely. Is there any way we could lift this? Absolutely. The whole key to that is getting the club face square enough. So you have to, you guys like that little in deal race? Thanks, Mary. So getting shaft lean has very much to do with getting the club face square to closed. Like if your club face gets too open ever here, you're going to have too much throw. If your club face is more closed, you automatically have to have the handle forward. what I would suggest, Odin, is to search my name in compression and watch the compression wrist angle videos we just did. We did a whole compression masterclass that I think will come out next week. Is that next week?
Yeah,
next Monday, we're going to launch a compression masterclass. There'll be videos throughout the week in terms of how to train your wrist conditions. You have to get the club face square first to get any kind of shaft lean. And then from there, you can get the swing direction, you can get the body pivot, etc. But it's all club face. So search my name in compression and then search my name and fix your flip. Eric Cogorno, fix your flip. And I'll talk to you about where the club face should be. That'll get you started on the process there. Your videos with Alaska with the hip movement away from the ball helped. Really extension, love it. Great stuff. Now I'm coming a little bit from the inside, but have way open face. Yes, you have to square your club face, right? In that scenario, you've got a couple options. Now let's assume your grip is good. Let's assume you're okay at the top and it's opening when you start down too much. You got to curl that. So you got to do, if you search my name and twist away, and we did some today, you have to curl this like this. So see how the club face points more towards the camera, the back of the hand points more towards the camera, the right wrist points more towards the camera, the right wrist bends back more. You got to twist it closed as you start down. The more and more and more, and this depends on grip, right? But the more and more and more you lay this down, if everything else is neutral, if the face gets open, you got to twist that thing closed. You can do it from the start of the downswing. You can do it later during the downswing. We just did a video today that'll come out that talks about going here and twisting the club face shut, but doing it on an angle that's at like 4 o'clock. So you don't twist it shut over the top. You don't twist it straight down shut. You twist it shut behind you, right? If that's what we're struggling with open face, you twist it shut here, right? Wrist bent, right arm bent, twisted shut from the inside. So if you search my name and twist away, squaring club face, things like that, it'll talk you through how to do that. You can do that with the hanger. You can do that with the Tour Striker. Anything like that will be fine. Thank you. You are welcome. If hitting out of the rough, what changes should you make to swing ball location? I always seem to get stuck. Yeah, so that's a good question. Depending upon how thick the rough is, I would do a couple things. Number one, main concept is if the ball's in the rough, right, you've got golf ball like this. Normally, if it's on a fairway, it just sits and there's no grass that's going to get between the ball and the club. There's nothing there. If you're in the rough, there's grass that's going to get between the ball and the club. And so if I had grass that was going to get between my club and the ball, what would I do? Would I swing more level and catch more grass earlier, or would I swing more steep and catch less grass, right? You would swing more steep, obviously, right? So it kind of is all predicated on that. If I want to get less grass, more ball, I want to swing a little bit more vertical into the ball. It doesn't mean over the top, it just means more down on it. So what I would do is I'd stand a little closer to the ball. I'd grip down on the club about 1 inch or 2. The shorter the club is, the easier it is to hit down. The longer the club, the harder to hit down, technically speaking. I'd grip down, I'd get a little closer to the ball, maybe move the ball back 1 inch in my stance. All those pieces are going to help me hit down. I'm going to make my normal full backswing, but I'm definitely going to feel like the club head is hitting more down on the ball than normal. Obviously, there are different rough lies, but this is what I would do. So grip down 1 inch, closer to the ball, hit more down on the way through. Those would be the pieces that I would do out of the rough. Any other things you need to do in your swing to hit it solid, full turn, close the face, swing from inside, whatever, you would still have to do those pieces. It depends on the rough. The more your ball is into, like if the rough's pointing towards you, that would be more difficult. You have to do more of that. I would probably get the back edge of the green number and hit to that. So I'd take more club, probably significantly more club, maybe hit a 3/4 shot. So if I have 150 to the pin and I'm in rough and the grass is into me, into the green, and I have 170 to the back, I might be a little long, maybe it's 165 to the back, I'd take my 165 club, grip down, stand closer, and swing kind of shoulder to shoulder. And hopefully it's only like 135 to the front. I have that whole thing to be fine. If you're down grain, I'd flip that. I'd take the front edge number and usually go after that a little more aggressively. Frank, what's up, buddy? Is the club in last parallel? Is the club in last parallel a bit lower to the ground than club in first parallel position, or are they same positions? So think about what you just asked me there, Mr. Frank. If you and I were together, I think we'd laugh over that. When the club's parallel to the ground, the club's parallel to the ground, right? So it's not higher or lower. It's parallel to the ground. So it's the same. It's the same. It's not higher or lower. I think I know like what you're getting at, but you know what I'm saying? Like when it's parallel to the ground, it's parallel to the ground either way. The club head will be a little more inside the hands, typically speaking. Like if you were to slow-mo all good players, When it's parallel on the way back, it's usually more in line with the hands, sometimes a little inside, sometimes a little out, but usually more normal. And then last parallel, it'd be more here. Maybe you're saying, is it higher or lower this way, right? So like, I can be parallel to the ground here. This is parallel to the ground. This is parallel to the ground. This is parallel this way. If that's what you mean like this, then typically from here, I'll be lower, ideally. Now I'm exaggerating, okay? But this would be, so the club's still parallel to the ground, but my whole unit is lower to the ground. If that's what you mean, then I take back that laugh, and it should be ideally a little bit lower on the downswing because the legs increase flex. So during my downswing pattern, the club is lower because my legs flex more, right? Here's my legs at setup, kneecaps over the balls of the feet. My kneecaps aren't really changing much to here, but at last parallel, my kneecaps should be closer to my toes. Knees start over the edge of my shoelace. They want to go more towards my toe line. And then so the shaft, I'm also increasing forward bend, etc. Have you ever heard of focusing on swinging a point on the shaft closer to the hands or shaft sticker instead of the club head itself? Seems to help me maintain angles. Yeah, a lot of people that I've worked with over the years have different kind of focus points. So I've played for a period of time where I would focus on the grip itself. You could focus on a piece here if that helps, or up here. Like I've had a lot of times in my takeaway and my downswing follow through where I would feel the grip of the club. So this part of the shaft working a certain way, or here, especially for me through impact. I tend to get high handle shaft this way. So I feel the butt of the club and the grip working lower to the ground. Like if there was a wall here, lower and more around me. And I think that would be a perfectly acceptable way to hit shots. Feeling the grip work down. You know, it depends on where someone's at. Like some people feel the body motion's better. Some people feel the club head better. Some people feel the grip better. Any of them can be fine. Any of them can be fine. It all depends. Have you ever, sorry. Trent, what's up, bro? Hope all is well. Hope you guys are, your family's opening back up over there hopefully soon. Hopefully you're golfing too, man. No school. Also wanted to say thanks for the right palm camera feel in the backswing. Help me get better. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think, so like you see a lot of the same things, right? A lot of us struggle with not enough turn on the backswing, not enough depth on the backswing, face too open, right? These are things that are common. Some people get the face too close, but most of us would be better off during the backswing if our goal, instead of going toe up and then like club this way, would be better off trying to keep the club face pointed towards the ball, towards the ground, towards the camera, towards the sky. So it'd be ball, ground, behind me, sky. Let's put that on there, Mayor, for one that we want to do. That would be more of what I would feel with the club face. Ball, ground, camera, sky would get the face more close. Now, if you do this, here's what's key, right? If I'm trying to get my face more closed, so let's say you normally have an open face somewhere, and you go ball, face points the ball, then ground, then camera, and you're like, holy shit, that feels like I'm twisting it shut. Well, that's okay. Now, what if I do that and I hit one and the ball goes too far left? Was my club face too closed? Well, no, my club face wasn't too closed during my swing. The problem was I still have my old release pattern with my open face. So like, if you can get your club face more closed, 90% of the time, that's good. Now you need to learn from there how to get your shaft more forward. You need to learn from there how to open your body lines. You need to learn from there how to swing in a different direction. But if you hit it left when you try and close your club face, that's a good sign. Learn how to adjust the other pieces to be able to play from there, right? That's how I play that. Cameron Chambers talked about his weight stays on his left side instead of shifting right in the backswing like most people. Is this something worth pursuing? Yeah, one thing Cameron is like, so Cameron Champ doesn't really do that. If you were to measure him, it's what he feels. That's the one part that's tough about listening to a lot of great players. They talk about what they feel in their swing, and it's not reality. Like right now, I'm hitting the ball about as good as I ever have. I feel like during my downswing, like my head is going to work through a glass and I'm going to kiss the ball. I feel like my left hip's going back a country mile. Now, when I record myself, of course, I'm not actually doing that. I basically just maintain my same height. So if my tip to you was get your head down and forward and butt way back, and you actually did it, that could be some problem. So Cameron Champ doesn't actually do that. Now, having said that, Depends on who we're talking to, Cameron. So for driver, I'd rather there be a good amount of shift, big turn, big depth, and then there be a shift on the way back. For irons, if you're struggling with contact, especially in the beginning or learning solid contact, there can be some benefits to getting like 60-40, staying 60-40, getting your low point forward, kind of building in a draw pattern. You could work that pattern and shoot under par and play great. So it's not like inherently incorrect. For speed and hitting up on the driver, I might have a little more shift, but it kind of depends. Tips for pitching from 30 to 50 yards, Anton. Yeah, so I have a ton. We have a wedge and short iron masterclass that's on Podia. Or, dude, if you search my name in wedges, we have like 4 or 5 videos on YouTube that are like 15 to 20 minutes long that like shouldn't be free, to be honest with you. They're like a full, complete masterclass. So search my name in wedges, and it'll talk about pieces you need for solid contact and building a system in. You need to build a swing length system for how far you hit the ball. Every player I've ever worked with who came in and told me they were a feel player with their wedges, and then we put a wedge system in, were better with the wedge system, me included. I thought I was a feel player, and I didn't want to do it. It was foolish. I hit it much better with the system in place. So search my name in wedges. I have a CJ Bell sighting in a minute. Trevor, having a hard time squaring my club face with my driver, slicing it hard left. Any drills to correct this? So having a hard time squaring club face. If you're slicing it hard to the left, I'm assuming you're a lefty. If you're a righty, slicing it hard to the right. So assuming you're slicing it, yeah, Trevor, search my name on YouTube and fix your driver slice. And that'll talk about setup with your grip, club face tilted down, keeping the club face square and the club face square on the way through. The reality is you need to square your club face, period. The question is, why is yours open? And then how much you need to exaggerate, etc. Search my name and driver slice, and that'll go through it. There's a video specifically on that. CJ, just a hello and thanks to you and Mary. You are welcome, my friend. Thank you for coming. Digging back through chipping courses and picking up some simple drills to get my strike back. Definitely suffered during lockdown. Me too, CJ. I think for me with my chipping, obviously there's some mechanical things. Like I always tend to, for me with my chipping, get in there and have a little too much of this motion, so my strike gets off. So for me, especially when I'm starting back up, I want to check my setup fundamentals. So I'm like, hey, am I close? Ball's in the middle, feet are close, shoulders level, big one. Shoulders level, not too much tilt. Face shaft neutral. I'm feeling like the club head's traveling back and through at the same rate. Another tendency I see is getting too quick here at the bottom. So especially at the start of the season, feel the club head travel back and through just at the same exact pace, both ways back and through. And then from there, if you're struggling, you know, you're checking swing plane. So especially at the beginning of the season. So if you're chipping, you want to have the club head ride basically right up and back down the plane. Any under this way or out this way is going to be a problem. So I'm close to the ball, gripping down on the club. I'd rather you be gripped here than all the way at the top. I grip way down here, and then I'm just feeling the club head working back and through at the same motion. I like that a lot. And then once your contact gets good, especially CJ, your level, and we're going to redo some of this on the site. So you'll see this here. We're going to do it Wednesday, actually. So this new practice plan on Cogorno Golf should be up next month. But after you do your contact, you need to do landing zones, like short, medium, and long, and score it where you're doing like X in a row. So you see an improvement in your practice. You're not just like lollygagging, like something you can work towards. And then you should be doing bump and run trajectory stuff, and then definitely up and downs. Like CJ, your level, I would say you should shoot to finish your practice with X in a row up and downs. Maybe start with 3. When 3 gets easy, build to 5. Imagine if you could end your practice and do 10 in a row up and down. Like that would be my ultimate goal. My goal at the end of practice session with a driver is start every ball left, curve every ball right, and land 10 in a row within a 20-yard fairway grid. And when I can do that, you know, when I go out to the golf course, it's easy. Greg, what's up, bud? Thoughts on a weaker grip to assist with being left across the line at the top of the backswing? Found my takeaway gets more vertical than with a flatter wrist. It's assisting with being less across the line. Yeah, so like all else equal, if I went weaker grip pattern, because there's certain things that are going to like work together, right? So if I go weaker with my grip, let's say left hand and right hand weaker, to keep the club face square, I need to have more flat to bowed with my left wrist. Now, if I were normal and I flattened or bowed my left wrist, you see where the club goes? So if I were normal wrist conditions and I flatten it or bow it, it will always be more laid off. If I hinge it more, it'll always be more across the line. So when I have a stronger grip, it's naturally in more extension at setup. And so for me to keep the face more square, I'm naturally going to want to be more cupped and across the line at the top. If I just bow my wrist and nothing else, the club will be more on plane or laid off. And so, yeah, that matches. I mean, a bowed left wrist matches with everything if you can move your body. But in particular, the weaker your lead hand grip, the more you need to bow it to have it square there and have it square here, right? If I have a stronger grip, I don't need to bow it to have it square, but there's a higher likelihood of more hinge. So yeah, that pattern would for sure match. And then, you know, if you want to get less across the line, and then it's, you know, what does that match on the way down? Going to match that to the pieces too. Marty, if you're squaring the club face early in the downswing, meaning more closed, do you still have to rotate the club face at the bottom, form rotation? Yes, but less, right? So if I open a door 20 degrees and I want to close it, I got to close it 20 degrees. Now, if I open the door 20 degrees and then I close it 10 degrees when no one's looking, I only have to close it another 10, right? So the earlier I start closing that door, the less I have to close the door later. If I open the door and I hang out for a while and the door's open, I got to close it 20 right at the bottom. So you still got to close it, right? There's no such thing as like setting it and forgetting it. But if you can have the club face more square and have it more square at the top and square it earlier, no doubt. Anytime I've ever looked at any measurements from guys that are smarter than I am and they track this stuff and measure it, better players square the face earlier than not as good players. Now, I can see that in 2D on video, like clear as day, right? Like you watch the club face, good players square it more earlier, no doubt about it, than not as good, right? That's a clear tendency. So yes, you still have to close it later, but if you square it earlier, it won't feel like you have to close it later. Like if you get your club face, neutral grip, tilted down. So again, I mean, I really like this. Like I almost am gonna just like start making this my deal, which is like face at the ball, face at the ground, face at the camera, face at the sky. Like it's just hard to not have good things from here. And then as I'm here, I don't need to feel like I close the club at all. I can feel like my left elbow stays at the target, my lead shoulder is more internal, my right wrist is more bent, my right arm is more bent, and just shove and have the handle forward and turn and just hit it incredible. Now, if I have the face more open and I need to do more at the bottom, it's still doable. I played great like that for a long time, but you definitely got to feel like you're doing more at the bottom. So that would be my thought on that. Roman, I'm trying not to move hips closer to the ball in the downswing. It works with my practice swings, but as soon as I try to hit a ball, the hips move closer to the ball. Any reason you tell me why? Yeah, there's two specific reasons. One, the reason why without a ball it's easy and with a ball it's hard is because there's a consequence with a ball. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. If I told you right now to get up out of your chair wherever you're standing and take a step forward with your foot, that's very easy to do. Step forward. Now, if I put you on top of a 20-story building on the ledge and I say, take a step forward, you'd be very difficult to do that. Your brain wouldn't do it. Why? Because there's a consequence to you taking that step all of a sudden. Same thing to a lesser ridiculous degree when that golf ball's there. If I make a practice swing, I move my hips back, nothing bad happens. If I hit a ball and I do it, there's something likely going on earlier. When I say likely, I mean more towards guaranteed. There's something going on earlier where your brain figured out how to fix it by pushing your hips forward, and it knows if it doesn't do that, it's not going to work, it's not going to match up. What could that be? Why are you doing that? That could be a series of things. Common things would be setting up with butt too far back, head too far over, and then standing up, having an open club face and having to push your hips forward and stall to have time to square it, having a steep shaft and having to stand up to shallow it, right? Those would be common things. So poor setup, open club face, steep downswing, but it's because there's a consequence, and then it's because you're doing something earlier on where pushing the hips forward actually makes it work okay. And if you took that out, your brain wouldn't make it happen. What you need to figure out is what is that and how do you fix that? That's the key to that. Frank, yeah, okay, hopefully, yeah, you're talking about that lower lower on the way down. Paul, what's up, man? Just want to give a shout out to Eric and recommend anyone that wants to get better at golf to join Cogorno Golf. I appreciate that, dude. Shooting the best scores in my life and swing has never looked better. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys here haven't noticed in every video, me saying it 100 times, we do have a group, Cogorno Golf, with a Facebook group where you can post your swings for myself and our coaches. I love it. I think you guys would all love it if you give it a shot. But you can do that there. Would love if you could do some on course through your eyes, course swing strategy type stuff, etc. Honestly, dude, like Mary and I would love that too. Like I would love nothing more than to go on the course and do more on course videos. The issue is like the views and the time spent watching those videos that we've done has been much lower than our normals. And so you got to play the game here a little bit with like what kind of topics you do, titles, etc. I would love to do live and on course and talk swing mechanics a little bit, but the reality is it doesn't, you know, add up as much. And as much as I think that would help, if we don't get enough people to watch, you end up, you know, helping less people overall. So yeah, if we can figure out a way to do more on course stuff and you guys like it and want to watch it, I would love to, especially now when I'm playing good. I want to show off my good stuff on the course. Let's see, this is super. You know, one of the other things I want to do too is I want to get that Arcos and start tracking my stats and like play once a week and record it and show it on here and show my stats and like keep myself accountable so you guys can see what's actually going on. I think that'd be a cool thing. This is super. Thanks, man. I often struggle with the club head stick changing direction in the rough using wedges. End up with a bad slice. Any tips avoiding that? I often struggle with club head stick changing direction. Oh, okay. Yeah, so like I think what you're saying there is that the club head gets kind of caught in the rough and twists directions. That's a difficult one. I mean, I think literally keeping your hands on firm on the club and having a bunch of acceleration through the ball when you get in thicker rough is the goal there. But like if you get in certain thick rough, like the rough gets high enough, that's just difficult. Like I would take more club than normal, be super conservative, play to the fat sides of the greens and lay up, and then learn how to not hit it in the rough so often. Scott, Eric, right elbow still wants to fly out on the takeaway. Been using a impact ball, making better contact, but that right elbow wants to flail. Ideas. Yeah, so let's assume you mean if it's going like this way, or it also could be going, well, so usually in terms of your arm, if my arm's working internal too much, so my right palm's on top, that's gonna look like here, compared to if my right arm's working a little bit more external, my elbow is going to stay closer to my body, right? So from here, this is my right arm going internal during my takeaway. This is my right arm going external during my takeaway, which would be like tighter like this. So in terms of squeezing the arms together, you can't do that when the arm goes internal. You can do it when the arm goes external, right? What you got to watch here is not having excessive forearm rotation when you do that, so the club stays out in front of you. If that's what you mean, when we say flail, Scott, I just need to know exactly what we mean by that. Is that this, you know, is that this motion here, which is what I assume it would be? So clarify that for me and I can talk more about what exactly you need to do to fix that. Because that could be something like impact ball. You could put the glove, right? If it was this internal external thing, you could do the head cover underneath your shoulder like this, underneath your armpit, and feel like you're squeezing that head cover underneath the right side of your body as you do your takeaway pieces. That's also going to help keep the elbows closer together if it's a shoulder internal external rotation thing. Ross, what's up, man? Hey, Eric, Mary, glad you're back. Could you explain the grid practice method? Yes. So we're going to do, Ross and CJ was on here before, and Paul, we're going to refilm all of our practice stuff that's on the site. So we're going to completely redo that and make that easier to follow. We're going to do that on this Wednesday. So that'll probably be like a month from now to be on. But the grid is one of the main parts we need to put in there. And this is something that, man, son of a gun, when I do this on a steady basis, my golf is so much better. And so is everyone's I do it with. A grid is this. It's the ball pattern you hit. For an iron, it depends on the ball pattern you're hitting. You need to pick a target in the distance. Let's say I have the 100-yard sign out there. And then you pick a secondary target. So let's say I want to hit a draw. For me to hit a draw, that means all my golf balls need to start to the right and curve to the left without crossing the target line. So I would pick my 100-yard sign. I pick a secondary target 30 feet to the right. And then in my mind, I draw two walls up there, like a field goal post between the 100 and that secondary one. Now, what I need to be able to do to improve my skills, regardless of how I swing the club, is learn how to get the ball to start in that field goal post, curve in that field goal post, and land in that field goal post. So like up here, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, but this, if I put this here on my target and I put a secondary one over here, say that's my target line. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, you can see that. So let's say that's my target line. I pick a second target about 30 feet to the right of that. I would lay a stick down, cut that grid in half. So here's my target, there's my secondary. I cut it in half. That's where I want the ball to start. Now I'm going to start with a sand wedge. Okay, I'm going to start with a sand wedge. And I want to work I want to work my way up the bag. This is the gold on how you learn how to take your swing feels and mechanics out onto the golf course and play well. Like this is like the secret that I got to improving no matter what. So stick on the ground here. So I've got this little grid out there. Now I'm going to start with a sand wedge, full swing. The ball must start on the right side and land inside that little grid. I got the pole in the back. So I'm going to come back here, see my ball flight pattern, take my setup, line my face up to the stick. That cuts my grid in half. So it's 15 feet right of the target. I look up, see the ball launching where I want and landing where I want, and then I swing and I hit. And now that ball, it's got to curve a little left. Okay, so that just barely landed in my grid, but that ball landed within my zone. So you know what I do? I say, okay, good. I won that. I got my sand wedge, and I'm going to work up. Now I do my 52 degree, and I do the same exact thing, sand wedge all the way through fairway wood. And I have to start the ball, curve it, land it. That would be a draw pattern. Pick your target, and then pick a secondary target 30 feet to the right. If you're a fader of the ball, just flip it. Pick your target, pick a secondary target 30 feet to the left. Start every ball within it, curve it, land it. If you miss, just stay at the same club. When you start to get good at that and that gets easy, make yourself do 2 in a row with a club. When you start to get really, really, really good, do it where you got to go all the way through your bag without missing. And if you miss one, you start back over from the beginning. That's what I would do. And then when a driver, you got to do a grid as well. My best driving is always when I do grids. So I like to fade it. So I'd pick a fairway, 30-yard fairway in the distance. I cut that fairway right in half. So I got 15 yards on the left, 15 yards on the right. I put the stick out. Stick goes out in front, 2 to 3 yards in front of you. And now my job is to get the ball to start, curve, and land within that left 15-yard grid. I make myself in practice do 10 in a row. So if I miss one, I start over. If I do 7 in a row, miss one, start back 0. Finish your practice with 10 in a row. That is how you do grids. That's how you get better no matter what you're working on with your swing. And that's what you should do after your swing mechanics. So do a set of 20, 30, 40 of your swing mechanics. Don't care how you hit it. Then do this, care how you hit it. You got to learn how to get the ball in there. Because then when you look at a green, you can get the ball to land in quadrants of a green all the time, no matter what. That's the goal. Okay, that was not rapid fire. Do you know a good drill to move your center of mass? Yeah, Donnie, I don't know if you mean move your center of mass back or forward. But what you're looking for in terms of center of mass, we just look at your body motions. If you had the chair or stick here, you want to be able to turn your right hip inside of the stick or chair and then put the chair in front of your left leg and get your belt buckle to it. So that's kind of how your body should move. Chair's back here, turn inside of it on the way back up to the top. Put the chair outside your left ankle and get your belt buckle up to the chair. That's kind of 101 body motions. How do you stop early extension? So a couple options. Really, you got to find out why you're early extending. Start with setup. So make sure you're not too far bent over like this. Get taller with your butt more under you. That's a George Gankis thing I learned from, and it's incredible. I wish I'd have known that 15 years ago. So stand taller with your butt more under you, more rounded from the top. During the downswing, the feels would be push your head forward this way. So down and forward. Like if there's a wall here like this, you want to feel like your head's going forward of the wall, not just down, but also forward. And then your left hip or butt, if you had like a wall here, feels like it's going back away from that like a foot. So from here, your setup position, butt under taller, push your head forward. So you're trying to get your eyes outside the ball and push your butt back. That would be your sensation to get rid of the early extension. And that's one of many. Now, if your setup is off, if your shaft is steep, if your face is open, your body's always going to early extend to try and fix that. So you have to check that out and fix that earlier. Let's see here. Last 80s round stats, 70% fairway regulation. That's awesome. That's close to I think my stats this year, like 80%, like not missing fairways. Ridiculous. 38% greens. That's too low. 30% scrambling and sand saves. That's okay. 1.97 plus around handicap 5. To break 75 more, what aspect of practice most? Greens in regulation, 100%. So your greens in regulation, you need to get over 50%. Your scrambling's okay. I would say to break 80, you got to get 33% would be a marker I'd look at. To get closer to scratch, you want to try and get your scrambling closer to 50. So that's what I would use for that. Your greens in regulation, you need almost double. So you got to find out with 70% fairways, you're hitting way not enough greens. That might be because your drive's not going far enough. That might be because you don't have a ball pattern. That could be various things. So you need to find out why you're not hitting more greens, start there first, and then get the scrambling percentage up. How do I practice how much to rotate my arms relative to swing path? I've noticed when I rotate my arms too much, the ball hooks OB. When I timed it correctly, it's a great draw. Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it is. So like, the more you rotate your arms, on paper, the more the ball would go left as a right-handed golfer. So if you're feeling X amount, 5 out of 10 arm rotation, the ball is going too far left, you got to decrease that. Feel 2 out of 10. Well, at 2 out of 10, the ball goes to the right. Okay, try 3 out of 10. Okay, that's pretty good. Try 4 out of 10. Still a little bit left. Okay, then you need to feel somewhere between 3 and 4 out of 10. Now, of course, I need to see your swing, like, how much do you need to do, when do you need to do, etc. But I would suggest against, and this is, I've evolved over time with my coaching. I used to coach more people into more arm rotation during the downswing. I still do. Like I still do if it's needed, especially in the beginning, learning to get a ball curved to the left. You want to learn how to have some kind of too much arm rotation to hit hooks. But then you gradually take that arm rotation away and increase some body motion. So that's the technical answer there for you. Ryan, what's up? Greetings from State College. Hello. Do you advise squaring the club face on the backswing or downswing or both? Feels like downswing is better. So Ryan, technically speaking, you have to square both. So you cannot square it enough on the backswing where you do nothing on the way down. Not literally speaking, maybe feel-wise. I would prefer, if you have enough speed, to square the club face more on the way back. So face more, this is going to be the theme of today. I would rather see face more at the ball, face down towards the ground, face towards the camera, face towards the sky, and twisting it early in transition. I'd rather you get the club face pretty much set to go on the way back and from the top to left arm parallel. So from here through impact, I don't need to do much with my arms and hands. That would be the preference. If you don't have enough speed, sometimes then I'll let them have the face a little more open, and you can use some of the arm rotation to get some more distance. You can do it that way as well. Let's see. Adopted a flat swing that works well to most of my clubs except for the driver. Do you have a clue? I don't have a clue without seeing that now, because I need to know like your interpretation of flat. What does that even mean? How flat is it? What are you actually doing? What are the other variables? So I need to see that one. If you can't sort it out, you can join Cogorno-Golf.com, do the $49 a month basic option. You can post your swing in our Facebook group. I just would have to see that one. Do you use the bounce when pitching? Simon, yeah, 100%. If you search my name and chipping versus pitching, search my name and bounce, you'll see a bunch of detail on that. CJ, love it. After video, definitely notice too far inside. Love pace and shoulder ideas and that practice plan. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're playing on the course and you're going to be competitive and playing tournaments. You can work those swing mechanics, get the club on plane, grab a feel. But when you're out there playing, basic club thought, landing zone, visualization, etc. Let's see. Dan, thoughts on twist away method using driver? Yeah, so it should be the same thing with the driver as an iron, depending on what you need. So if someone already has the face more square, then obviously they don't need to feel as much twist away. But all else equal, if your face is too open on any of the clubs, you need to feel with any of them: sand wedge, 9-iron, 7-iron, driver, etc. The caveat from there is with the face more square, you need to learn how to rotate your body enough, right? You need to learn how to do some things during the downswing to pair up with that. And then if you don't have enough speed, so the slower your speed is, the more open you would want to have your driver club face, right? All else equal. That's kind of how that would work. So you can kind of square it a little bit more later on, theoretically. Let's see. Your tip on visualizing a rod to right or left to improve start line when shaping shots work like a charm, pull, fade, gone, much better strike. Beautiful. Excellent. Yeah, it's a really good way to correlate your feels, how much you need to do something, etc. Appreciate your great teaching. Thank you, sir. Having trouble with right elbow lagging behind before impact and working right bend tilt with driver impact causing low trajectory shots. Having trouble with right elbow lagging behind before impact, working on right bend tilt driver. Yeah, Herbert, I'm not 100% sure exactly what you mean there. Maybe if you can maybe rephrase that a little bit for me. Working on right tilt driver causing low trajectory shots. Paul, ball, ground, camera, sky, Eric's new golf. Yeah. I think we're going to do a YouTube video on that next week or the week after. That's like club face, my new club face 101 alignments. Should you twist your hips toward the target at the start of the downswing? If yes, any tips on that? Yes. So you should be moving from the top. Your pelvis should be opening as you start down. Now, ideally, that's one of the few things that's really happening. And it's a combination of movements, right? Like my center of pelvis, my left side of my hips, are opening, working down and left before my arms and hands. So notice my arms and hands are starting to come down. I'm not doing anything with my arms and hands. My pelvis motion is the part that starts my club working down, right? So the reflexing of my upper body and my pelvis working back and around is the part that's really bringing my arms and hands down. I'm feeling like my arms are pulled against my pec more so as you're starting down. We did, if you search in terms of drills, search how the hips work in the golf swing, putting the chair up outside the left part of your leg and pushing your belt buckle against it is probably my favorite one. So you can search my name in hips. Let's see. Glad you met with Mike. We are too. Will you be accommodating his methods in your teaching sessions, your students who want to travel that road? Are you doing for their yeah, I think like everyone we met, there's not really things that are so different amongst all of us. There's some little different things some people say or do, but I think for the most part, we're kind of all saying the same sort of stuff. So like when Mike talks about steepening the shaft a little bit and throwing from the top, or like Kevin, throw versus twist release, you know, I do various forms of that with people who need it. I tend to see people have a lot of the same issues, so I tend to say the same stuff. Like I see a lot of lack of turn. Like of our Cogorno Golf members, I'd say 75% don't have enough backswing turn, first time I see them. I'd say of our members, over half don't have enough backswing depth. I'd say 30 to 40%, at least the club face isn't square enough, and that's conservative. It's probably 80%. So we need more turn, more depth, more club face closed. We need to maintain depth, shallow the shaft, have the face closed, and then learn how to pivot from there. So I see a lot of the same stuff. So do some people need some other ways? Like for Mike, I get some players who come in who typically are better players who get the club too far behind, and they might need to feel like it's getting a little bit tipped out more in front of them. So yeah, I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see, you guys are all welcome. Would early extension cause hooks, fade, slice the driver? Yeah, early extension, depending upon what you pair with it, could really cause anything. I mean, it all depends on what you're doing with it. People who have a shallow enough shaft who early extend usually swing too far to the right, hit pushes and hooks. People who are too steep, who early extend, have a very vertical shaft, could hit anything. Could be, I mean, you're talking definitely toe shots would come up a lot there. Could be pulls, could be slices. It all depends on the other variables. But again, if you have early extension, there's something you're doing earlier that's causing it. Likely, right, one of those three things. Setup too bent over, shaft too steep, face too open. And so you want to be able to address those things earlier as you're fixing your early extension to like really fix it. David, home course is very hilly with many undulating fairways. Rare flat lies. Any suggestion to improve ball contact and irons, uphill, downhill, side hill lies? Yeah, I have a lot. It's probably beyond the scope of this video. We just filmed like 2 weeks ago a fairway and hybrid masterclass that'll come out at some point where we talked uphill, downhill, side hill lies. Yeah, David, I'd say I'm going to hold off on that one just because that's probably 30 minutes to explain all that. The quick thing would be on side hill lies, right? When the ball's above your feet, you're gripping down on the club more like this. You're standing taller with your posture. You're swinging more around your body. When the ball's below your feet, you're all the way up. You're probably bent over more with your posture, and you're feeling like you're maintaining your body's distance from the ground. Downhill lie, you're going to have your weight more left, right? So, and feel like your body and shoulders are a little bit more to the left like this, and you're going to feel like you're swinging a little bit more down with the slope. Probably put the ball back in your stance. Uphill lie, you're going to feel a little in your leg. Keep your distance there. Take more club on the uphill lie like this, and then making sure you're swinging into the slope instead of falling back. That's like the real quick version. Any age restrictions or limitations with the square to square method? No, there are not. Hey, Eric, I only hit a draw, but when I'm faced with a dog leg left to right, I'm lost. What is a way I can hit a fade? Dan, I would say you shouldn't hit a fade on that hole. Find out how far it is to the edge of the fairway and hit less club than that. I think learning how to hit curves two ways with the driver is a fool's gold. I think with all your clubs, you should own one pattern until you can shoot under par. Now, if you're shooting under par on a regular basis, we can change that conversation. But if you're shooting par or over on that hole, you should accept that will be a hard hole for you. Find out how far it is to the end of the fairway, hit that club. If that means you need to hit 3-iron in on that hole, 4-iron, so be it. If you got a bogey hole, that's fine. Then learn how to own a couple of the par fives to bring your score back down. Steve Elkington. I wonder if that's the real Steve Elkington. Probably not. What is your release pattern with the hand? So I would say, Steve, it's very dependent on the grip, club face, and swing direction. And so, and club face angle. So the more the club face is tilted down at last parallel with my release pattern, I can, from here, have a release pattern that's a little bit more this way. If my club face a little bit more toe up here like so, I'm going to need a little bit more of either bow and roll, so supination and flexion of the lead wrist to square that from there, or some shoulder rotation. So to me, the release is very dependent on club face. The more turned down the club face is, typically stronger grip, right? I'm going to have a little bit more internal rotation with my lead arm and have a little bit more drive hold Kelvin Miyahira. If I've got a weaker grip, I'm more over this way, I'm going to typically need a little bit more flexion of the lead wrist, a little bit more supination, and my release pattern will look like it throws a little earlier. Stronger grip is going to look like elbow at the target, back of the left hand over here this way. Kind of like at impact, I'm more or less getting my hands back relative to where the grip was at. So to me, Steve, it very much depends on the grip, the club face first, and then swing direction. I mean, the release pattern for someone who's got good, like the real Steve Elkington, who's got good body angles, is going to look different than a guy who stands up. So a guy who stands up obviously needs to throw more to get down to the ball. So a guy who goes more vertical will need to throw more. So you'll typically see a little bit more throw. A guy like a DJ, or has this face more down and has forward bend and right side bend and turned, will have a little bit more of a kind of stable looking release pattern. So I'd say very much dependent on club face grip, body positioning, and then swing direction as well, right? And so if I swing way to the right past impact, my swing direction, I'm going to typically have a little bit more arm rotation look, face looking like it's kind of tilted down more. If I swing way to the left, usually that face will be a little bit more up towards the sky as I'm matching swing direction with face to hit a ball at my target. I think we'll do a couple more, and then we'll probably kind of wrap her up here because our little power is getting a little lower. Keenan, having a challenge releasing the driver for a draw. I can draw the irons easily. I tend to drag hands into out intentionally. I would say with that, also look at just fading the driver. So for me, I draw all my irons and I fade my 3-wood and driver. I think that's a common thing for good players to do. So you don't need to draw your driver because you draw your irons. I would look at potentially just hitting the fade. The issue for a lot of people is with the driver, as we start to hit more up on the ball, the more up we hit on the ball, the more it shifts our path to the left. So for you to hit a draw, if you do hit up, you need to make your swing direction go even more out to the right, is what it'll feel like. Even more from inside, even more out to the right. Now, that's a general statement, right? You might be doing that because of your ball position is too far forward with your driver. That could be it, right? It could be your shoulders are just too open. So, I mean, it might be as simple as you need to move the ball a little back, pull your right shoulder back, close your stance line, shift your swing direction, right? It could be a simple ball position and setup thing. I'd have to see to say for sure. Philip, do you open your stance and club face when you do a natural draw? So I think for draw motion, I've got this setup here. I like to work a grid. So I got my target and then my zone 30 feet to the right. I put the stick down the middle of that. So it's 15 feet. So I'm looking for a 5-yard draw at most. And I want to miss within that grid. So what I do for my draw is I point my face at that start line, but I keep my feet square to the target. So my handle location will be a little forward and my face will point 15 feet to the right of the target, but my feet are square. So my feet and my club face are not parallel to each other. My club face is to the right of my feet when I like to hit my draw. And that's the part that gets the ball for me more started to the right. Now, not everyone needs to do that, but I would say that'd be pretty common among some of the players that hit draw. Some people like to shift their feet with it. That's perfectly fine. I prefer more square feet face a little bit to the right. Your clock system, Paul, your clock system, smooth swing, pitching wedge versus the shorter backswing with acceleration, downswing, bigger body turn to target to get a... Your clock system, smooth swing, pitching system versus the shorter backswing with accelerating downswing. Shorter backswing, accelerating downswing body is an absolute disaster waiting to happen for 9 out of 10 people. So that's my answer to that. Now, can someone learn how to go shorter with the wedges and do more body and go fast and hit it solid from there? No doubt about it, no doubt. Most amateur golfers that I see at our schools, on our Cogorno-Golf.com, it's a disaster with that. I would rather them keep one club, one tempo, and just adjust swing length and own solid contact in the swing length. And you could hit your wedges good enough to be able to shoot under par. that's what comes up a lot for me with this is like, well, you know, if you're 3-putting 6 times around, if your driver distance is 210, right? If you're hitting 2 greens, we need to fix all of those things before we start to like look at specifying wedge stuff. Having said that, if you have all those other things in shape, I would do I would do more neutral. But what you said, Paul's true. Like if you get to a level where you're past that and you're getting sort of elite shooting under par, you can definitely to lower the launch angle. But I don't think you need to add too much acceleration. I would just keep the system the same, move the ball back the handle a little bit more forward, and keep the same swing length. And on the way through, feel the handle. So the hands, the club head stays lower than the hands, and the hands are going to be farther away from your body. It's like normal wedge would be like this. High wedge would be like this. So the high wedge, the club head's very high, hands close to my body. The low wedge, the hands are far away and the club head's here. So for me, if you're changing trajectories, I would do it through that, through ball position and finish. But if you're good at it, you can do it, right? It's perfectly fine. Recently strengthened my grip, which opened the face of my club, giving me loft. Is there anything I need to do with my swing with that change? So usually if you strengthen the grip, it'll close the face, not open it, typically, if we're talking about the same thing. And so, yeah, JD, I'd have to see to say what else you should do with that. All else equal, more closed face? No, probably not, especially if it was too open already. So, yeah, I don't think based on just that. So if I strengthen my grip more and more and more, so V's for me as a righty more towards my right shoulder, that club face would be more closed, not open, right? And so if your face was, yeah, if you're hitting worm burners, then your grip's probably too strong. You probably face is too closed. You would probably want to weaken it and make the face more open. I'm making tremendous assumptions there. I mean, I need to see what else is going on with your pattern there, but that would be general. So, all right, guys, we're going to shut this down here. Sorry about the issues earlier on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Like I mentioned, if I did say to anyone to send your swing in, you can sign up at Cogorno-Golf.com, send your swing in, get all the videos, etc. We'll be back next Monday. We'll do this at 5 p.m. again. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Bring your questions next week, and we'll see you guys all soon.